Hello everybody, I'm Chris and I'm hosting the travel show here every Monday at 8 p.m. And due to a popular request in the recent weeks, I am now presenting my Excel sheet, which I use to track all my travel expenses in my full 3 years full-time traveling. I pretty much this design, it's been going on for a while and I've changed it quite a bit, but that's the version that I kind of ended up with, and it's providing a lot of information. It's packed with information, so it's not only to track the stats and to track how much money I spent on the road, but also to help me figure out where I've been afterwards. When I, like, let's say if I want to write an article about something in 2014, my brain would most definitely forget the exact places I've been to. So with this sheet, I can always kind of figure out, where did I go exactly when I was in Panama, you know? Boquete, okay, I saw this waterfall and this place. So all of these details, I would definitely not be able to remember all of them. Because if you look at it, it's a relatively big file. So these are the 3 years of full-time travel. And what I'm also doing here is tracking all my my flight informations. So I have a column for flight numbers here. I have my reservation numbers when I depart, when I arrive. And then in the orange part over here, that's where I'm tracking all of my expenses. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. So this is all based on formulas. Pretty much, it looks like a lot, you know, but once you have the sheet going, it's actually really easy. I just have to update the file once in the evening, and then it will update automatically. And all of this is calculated by formula. So for now, it's covering 1,060 days of traveling. In these days, I removed everything where I was not actual traveling. So let's say I would go maybe home and have a little break or so, which happened like once or twice during the 3 years. I would not include that into the statistics. And you see the big columns here. The T stands for transportation. It's also the biggest column, making up of 45% of the entire costs. The next one is food. That includes food and also drinks, of course. So everything that I need to stay alive. A is accommodation. Very low, thanks to the fact that I'm couch surfing a lot and staying in my tent. B is booked trips. So that would be if I go on a trek to Machu Picchu or so, I have to pay an entry fee, etc., etc. The only thing that I excluded here is Antarctica. So you can see here in my sum, I'm not sure if you can actually see it on the screen, but it pretty much says combine all the expenses in the N column here, from number 5. So this is like the first day of my trip on the row 5 until row 1060. So this is the end of where I was trekking. And then I removed the cost for Antarctica, and this was a really good price, like below 4,000 euros. So that's around $5,000 roughly. So I got a really, really good deal on Antarctica, but I did not want to add that into my calculation because it would have just completely blown out the stats. And that's the only thing that I removed from my stats by using the formula here. So I could also just remove it and then I would have the same stats with the Antarctica in there. But everything else is included. I have a column R as well, and that's just, everything that doesn't fit into the first 4 main parts. So it could be like getting a haircut. Like recently my mom cut my hair, so I didn't have to pay for that. But on the road, getting a haircut, I don't know, buying something that I need, maybe a shaver, if I want to, anything that doesn't fit into the other parts comes in here. We see the percentages, they should add up to 100%. Yeah, you can see here in the, can you actually see it, or am I blocking it? I'm blocking it, right? There you go. It's 100%. And I have averages as well for food and accommodation, so I can see per day, it was €7.74, 7.74 euros for food and nearly €8 for accommodation. And then I'm having stats on the right side here, split up by days, month, and years. So this is the overall number here. Again, reduced by the Antarctica trip. Then I have the amount of days and how much I spent per day. So it's €23 per day. I'm splitting up by month and by year. So this is how I get my data pretty much. There's more. The blue stuff, it's empty now because I deleted afterwards. So as I said, I'm using Couchsurfing a lot. If you don't know how Couchsurfing works, I will link another video here in the top right corner where I'm going into the changes that Couchsurfing recently made in last year, 2020. Because now they're actually charging to use the service. It's a very small fee, but in the past it was completely free. Now you have to pay a little bit for it, but it's still it will save you a lot of money. You should not only stay with people. The idea is that you also host people. So it's like giving and taking. You should not just take by staying for free at people's places. You should also open up your home and invite random strangers, pretty much. But this is how I collected the data. So I'm writing down the name, the number, and the address, because you have to imagine if I'm traveling full time, I'm constantly going from one place to the other, and I have to maybe I don't have them all on my phone, but I want to have one backup file where I have the numbers as well, and also the addresses, because I would not really put the address into the phone. So that's really helpful. And on the right side here, those are just some extra statistics. So I'm going to zoom in a bit. So the first one is just split down by region. And what you have to notice here is that I only include data from countries where I've been at least 10 days. So everything below 10 days is not integrated into these stats because the sample size is not big enough to be representative. But yeah, you can see I've been 120 days in Oceania, 34 days in Caribbean, 107 days in North America, nearly 200 days in Europe, 255 days in Asia, and then you see the total amount of food and the per day cost. So the Oceania region, Australia, New Zealand was the most expensive, and Asia was the cheapest. And then I have the same for countries. Canada, especially the west of Canada, has been really expensive. The Faroe Islands were quite expensive as well. UK is really expensive as well. New Zealand, Caribbean. And these are all kind of numbers based on my usual eating and drinking behavior. So it's not like I change that depending on where I am. I always have the same. I try to avoid expensive restaurants. I like eating street food. Depending on the country, you have like some really good local restaurants as well. With the local, I mean it's the ones where only the locals go to and not the tourists. They will be much, much cheaper, up to like 3 times cheaper than the places with the tourists. And those places you will get to know if you stay with Couchsurfers, because they will know exactly where the tourist traps are and where you get a good value for the price. Myanmar has been the cheapest by far. Spent 20 days there and around 2.65 euros only per day for all the food and all the drink. So that's really cheap. And then here on the right side, I pretty much present that data in just kind of a graph. I think this one on the bottom is a bit more interesting. So yeah, it's a lot of data. That's the main sheet. And yeah, as I said, there's a lot of details. Every time you see an orange one, that means that I was actually kind of at home or doing like something in between. And every day I would just go in and update the file. I would write down where I was, what I've done, and how much I spent. So I would have the information in my phone. I usually put it into a text file. So let's say I'm going out for lunch and I spent €8. I put F for food and 8. And then at dinner I spent another €12, and then I just add it up to 20. And at the end of the day, when I know I'm not going to spend any more, then I'm putting it into this sheet. Same with like the transportation costs and everything. So it's really just maybe 1 minute of work per day once you have the sheet up and running. Of course, creating the sheet took a bit of time and filling it out, but that's it's just over time, it it took a while to fill up, but now I have the nice kind of backbone, and I will use it for my next trip as well. I've got one really good sort of feedback already, and that is to split up the transportation cost between flying and everything other than flying. And I think that makes sense. So we can see how much did I pay for actually non-flight transportation. And that number should be pretty low because I love to hitchhike in, pretty much every country. Okay, in some countries I'm not doing it, but in most of them I would hitchhike. So I think that information would be really interesting. I could actually break it down already with my historical data, because as you can see, I know exactly what was a flight. Like here, for instance, when I flew from Montreal to Toronto, I paid 266 euros for the flight. And then I had some other transportation costs. So those would have been a bus or something. And then there's another, what's that? So this was actually the 266. I think I booked this in one booking. I booked Montreal to Cancun with a stopover in Toronto. And that was 266 euros. But yeah, that's the way I'm kind of breaking out my data. And I posted all on my website as well. So if you go on chrisontour, I have a budget travel section here. And in there, you can find the travel costs. I'm going to put it into the chat as well. Because what I was doing with my data is that I put it all into a nice infographic here. Just visualizing it a bit nicer than just looking at the raw data. And also the main important graphs here. I had a few updates. So the first time I was crunching my data was in January 2017. Then I had an update in March, another update in April 2018. And then the last update was in August 2020. And yeah, I'm gonna keep doing this as well. If you're interested on how to travel cheap, I have a bunch of tips as well. Same section here. In this link, I put down 10 different tips to keep your travel costs low. I don't want to talk about this today. Maybe I'll do another travel show going into detail on how to travel cheap. Maybe the only thing that I want to note here, because we were talking about earlier, is the couch surfing. Because I was actually updating it here, and the cost is really low, and it's exactly $2.4 per month, which is just extremely low. So you could still say it's pretty much for free couch surfing, especially if you would use it on a trip where you travel full time. You will use it a lot, and these $2 will really make no difference at all. Like just staying in a hostel for one night would be like 5 times that price. Yeah, I hope that was helpful. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. I'm also open for any recommendations on how to pimp up my sheet a bit further now that you know how it works. I will definitely split out the travel section into flights and non-flights. So that's a really cool input. But if you have anything else, let me know in the comment. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, hitting the bell icon if you want to hear more. And I'll see you next time. Every Monday at 8 p.m. you can be live here on Twitch. I'm actually going to talk to the chat now and see if they have any questions or feedback. And check out my other YouTube videos as well. I'm uploading quite a lot of material right now. So you should not get bored anytime soon.